Hi, my fancians. Welcome back. Hope you are doing well. Those who don't know me, I whisper you stories so you can relax and imagine as if it is real. Let's begin today's story. The Keeper of the Blue Valley. In a world that never stopped moving, there was a place called the Blue Valley. To find it, you didn't need a map. You only needed to close your eyes and breathe until the noise of the city felt like a distant memory. Elias was the keeper of the Blue Valley. He lived in a small cottage made of smooth river stones and silver wood. The roof was covered in thick green moss that felt like velvet to the touch. Elias didn't have a clock, a phone, or a calendar. He measured time by opening of the pale moonflowers and the way the shadows stretched across the grass. One Tuesday, or perhaps it was Saturday, it didn't really matter. Elias decided it was a slow day. On a slow day, the only goal was to notice the things that usually went unseen. The morning mist. Elias stepped out onto his porch. The air was cool and tasted like damp earth and pine needles. A soft mist hung over the valley like a thin white blanket. It didn't hide the world. It just made it look softer, like a painting that hadn't dried yet. He sat in his wooden rocking chair. Creak, swish, creak, swish. The sound was steady, like a heartbeat. He watched a single drop of dew move down a long blade of grass. It moved slowly, gathering light until it looked like a tiny diamond. When it finally fell, it made no sound, but Elias felt its pace. He stayed there for an hour, just watching the mist lift. As the sun rose, the white fog turned to gold, then to a pale clear blue. The mountains in the distance looked like sleeping giants, covered in navy blue silk. The walk to the stream. Elias put on his worn leather sandals and began to walk towards the center of the valley. There was a narrow path, but he didn't hurry. Every step was deliberate. Crunch, crunch, went the dry leaves. Thud, thud, went his feet on the soft soil. He reached the stream. He wasn't a rushing, angry river. It was a shallow, crystal clear brook that hummed a low song. The water flowed over smooth, round pebbles, red ones, blue ones, and some that looked like striped marble. Elias sat on a large flat rock that had been warmed by the sun. He took off his sandals and dipped his feet into the water. Cold. It was a sharp, clean cold that made him feel instantly awake. He watched the water ripple around his ankles. He noticed how the light hit the bottom of the stream, creating dancing patterns of gold on the stones. He stayed there, listening to the water. It sounded like thousands of tiny glass bells ringing softly in the distance. He let his thoughts go. Every worry about the real world was like a leaf falling into the stream. It touched the surface, spun around once, and was carried away by the current, getting smaller and smaller until it vanished around the bend. The tea ceremony. Around noon, Elias returned to his cottage. He wasn't hungry for a heavy meal. He wanted something that warmed the soul. He took a small iron kettle and filled it with fresh spring water. rested on a small stove. While he waited, he gathered dried lavender and mint from the jars of his shelf. He smelled, filled the room, clean, floral and cooling. When the water boiled, the steam rose in beautiful swirling ribbons. He poured the water over the leaves and watched them dance in the glass pot. The water turned a pale amber green. He held the warm mug in both hands. He didn't drink it immediately. He just felt the warmth seeping into his palms, traveling up his arms and relaxing his shoulders. He took a sip. It tasted like sunlight and quiet. The afternoon rain. As the afternoon deepened, the sky changed. It didn't get dark or scary. It turned a deep, comforting charcoal grey. A soft wind began to blow, smelling of rain. Elias lay down on a daybed near the window. He pulled a heavy, hand-knitted wool blanket over himself. It felt like a warm hug. Then the rain started. First, there was a few taps on the roof. Ting, ting. Then it turned into a steady, rhythmic drumming. Patter, patter, patter. It was the most relaxing sound in the world. It felt as if the rain was washing the entire valley clean, rinsing away the dust and the dried energy of the day. He watched the raindrops race each other down the window pane. Some merged together to become bigger drops, moving faster. Some stayed still, reflecting the grey sky. Elias felt his eyelids getting heavy. He didn't fight it. In the Blue Valley, sleep was a gift, not a waste of time. He fell into a deep, dreamless sleep, cradled by the sound of the rain on the mossy roof. The evening glow. When Elias woke up, the rain had stopped. The world was dripping and sparkling. The sun was low, casting a long orange-pink glow over everything. He walked to his small garden. The flowers were leaning over, heavy with rainwater. He gently shook a rose bush, and a shower of cool droplets fell on his hands. He sat on the bench and watched the fireflies begin to emerge. They didn't blink all at once. They flickered like tiny lanterns, one by one, in the tall grass. The air was silent except for the occasional hoot of an owl in the silverwood. Elias felt a deep sense of gratitude. He realized that the Blue Valley wasn't just a place. It was a state of mind. The peace he felt wasn't because he was alone or away from technology. It was because he had given himself permission to be still. The return to silence. As the night fell, the stars came out. In the Blue Valley, the stars were so bright, they looked like holes poked in the velvet sky, letting the light of another world shine through. Elias went back inside his stone cottage. He lit a single candle. The flame danced slightly, casting soft shadows on the walls. He sat at his wooden table and picked up a smooth stone he had found at the stream. He held it, feeling its weight and its coolness. Today was a good day, he whispered to the silence. The silence didn't feel empty. It felt full of peace, full of rest, full of the slow, steady rhythm of the earth. He blew out the candle. The smoke curled up in a thin grey line before disappearing into the dark. Elias climbed into his bed, tucked the wool blanket around his shin, and listened to his own breathing. In out, in and out. He knew that tomorrow the myth would return. The stream would still be singing its Glassville song. The moss would still be velvet, and he would still be the keeper of the Blue Valley. And the best part, anyone could visit. All they had to do was find a quiet corner, close their eyes, and remember the sound of the rain on a mossy roof. The end. I hope you enjoyed it. Subscribe for more stories, and do also suggest what story you would love to hear next. Have a lovely day ahead. Stay safe. See you until next time. Bye bye, my Fancians.